This is Hannibal from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a very interesting update related to former To the Stars co-workers Tom DeLonge, Blink 182 frontman, also from Angels and Airwaves, and he runs To the Stars, and his former co-worker Lue Elizondo, who used to be the head of the Pentagon's UFO program. But this is two separate clips. One from many years ago, Tom DeLonge on Jimmy Church's radio show, and the links for both full interviews are in the description, where Tom is talking about Operation Starfish Prime, which was a high altitude nuclear test conducted by the United States. It was a joint effort of the Atomic Energy Commission and the Defense Atomic Support Agency. July 9th, 1962, they basically blew up a nuclear bomb in space, which had a lot of negative effects, mainly in Hawaii, because I think this was done 900 miles away from Hawaii. But it still has a lot of horrible effects, and a lot of people wonder, why did you do this? And there was a lot of tensions between Russia and the United States at this time, so it seems risky to just test a nuclear bomb in space at this time. Tom DeLonge, as you'll see in this interview, says the real reason had to do with possibly knocking some UFOs out of the air with electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, also known as. And Lue Elizondo, in this more recent interview with Engaging the Phenomenon, the podcast, he kind of doesn't fully confirm the story, but he seems very uncomfortable when the host brings the story up that there was possibly a crash retrieval around this time due to this explosion. And Lue Elizondo doesn't really deny what may or may not have happened there. So very, very, very interesting clips. So let's get to them right now.
And just one crash retrieval case I don't hear talked about much. Starfish Prime. Does it sound familiar?
I've heard the name. I don't know it specifically. I know there's a lot of names for a lot of things out there. But if you want to describe it a little bit to me, I may be able to tell you.
Yeah, they were doing.
I'm not being cagey. I really don't.
Yeah, sure. They were doing a nuclear test to explode, a nuclear warhead in space, and allegedly something crashed in the ocean, and it was retrieved.
Let me. There may be some significance to EMPs. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, so please don't take this and anybody run to the hills. This is at this point pure speculation based upon some potential observations made in the past. There may be some truth that an electromagnetic pulse of energy can interfere with whatever this technology is and its propulsion. And if it interferes with it, then you now have a very interesting scenario where whatever is keeping these things up in the sky, it no longer does that. Can't do it. And so now all of a sudden, if you will, the bubble pops. And so all of a sudden comes crashing down this object that has no wings, no tail, no ailerons, no obvious signs of propulsion. And now it really does become a brick, and that brick falls. Now all of a sudden gravity has a say, and Mother Nature takes over. And that's probably what I'll say right now about that.
When you look back historically, because you're a historian of the subject, what's the one event to you that stands out the strongest, where you go, you know what, right here, this is the one we need to talk about?
Potentially Starfish Prime, the nuclear test in space.
Operation Starfish Prime. I can't believe you went there. Okay, go ahead and tell everybody about it.
Well, for people who don't know, that was a nuclear test, quote unquote test, in space. And we learned quite a lot from that test. It was the main test where we really were able to study and learn about EMP. This was also happening during, oddly enough, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's right,
So
1962.
when the whole world was focused on the Cuban Missile Crisis, something else was going on. And that something else may have brought something down. And that something that brought down we may have learned a lot about that, about EMP specifically, and its ability to catch things that are hiding. What happened once we started playing with nuclear weapons? UFOs showed up everywhere.
Every time.
And every time. And you got to think, why? Well, there's a big reason why. Because nuclear weapons will F up those little ankle biters bad. And they know it. And even they, as advanced as they are, they can't get away from it. And makes you really wonder why we did so many nuclear tests. It makes you really wonder why we did like 30,000 tests all over the world, in oceans, underground, up in the sky, and why we all have so many nuclear weapons. It's a big deal, you know. I'm not going to say it's all for this, but I was told something really, really, really important. The entire Cold War, we were working with the Soviet Union. We were together with them. And it was the one thing that kept the Cold War from going hot, was our relationship together on this issue. We weren't dumb and just went and lit up a nuke when we were in a standoff with Russia, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where everyone's like, oh my God, we're all going to die. And we said, well, then we might as well do a nuke test. You know, it's like, no, it didn't work that way. They knew we did the nuke test. They were probably in the room with us when we did that test, because there was a small group of people on both sides that were trying to do exactly what they did, which was fly swat some bugs out of the sky. What we found in Starfish Prime was different than what we found in Roswell, okay? But equally as important, but a whole nother story all in itself, if that makes sense. And that's all I want to say. You have shows like Ancient Aliens and every other thing out there that's coming up with these bizarre ideas that aliens built everything. And now people are not, you know, or now people are, for a lack of a better term, worshiping aliens. Aliens built everything. Aliens made us. Aliens are the gods. Aliens this, aliens that. And I said, that's what happens when there's a vacuum. And it got filled with something that is no good. So we're going to come out of this thinking that aliens are good, and they're not, you know, and at least this one specific race I'm talking about.